Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very interesting news when it comes to more on the financial side. So when this comes to this, we've always had that really big question of like, is the Xbox winning? Is the PlayStation 5 winning? Is the Switch winning? Is like, what is kind of going on in the internal markets? Like, who is making the most money? Are these deals actually going good? And at the end of the day, we want to look at revenues, profits, and all of that. And now it is a little bit always on the cliche side to kind of go and compare and compete and, always have to be like super hardcore on Xbox or super hardcore on PlayStation. But it always does make kind of a fun video because for someone like me, I always enjoy looking at the financials and like actually seeing what is going on with the company, mainly because I also do a lot of investing, in stock market, stuff like that. So we actually have some pretty cool stuff to go and can do a little bit of a deep dive into and see on who is actually winning, who is actually losing, what company's doing the best, and all that good stuff when it comes to this big gaming sphere, especially obviously all the consoles, the Switch, PS5, and Xbox. So a lot of stuff to go talk about, a lot of fun things to go talk about. So well, let's go talk about it as well. If you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch stream down below, the Weeble and Coinbase down below, and the Twitter giveaway down below, and let's dive into the video itself. So, as you guys probably know, we've had a pretty somewhat consistent past, I'd say, like 10 years in terms of like who's winning, who's losing, and blah, blah, blah. But as time goes on, businesses change, businesses buy out new companies, and businesses also make more revenue. But every now and then we have some kind of closet winners, and something like Xbox usually does have a pretty good precedent, mainly because it's also owned by Microsoft, which is, well, obviously bigger than Sony itself. But with every other big company out there, they're all huge, they're all massive, they're all making and printing billions of dollars. But for this, we actually have a very intriguing article over here that Sony is, thankfully, as of now, still gaming's second biggest money maker. But as of right now, it actually looks to maybe be being overtaken. Will Microsoft's deep pockets actually make a difference? So, this is a lot of stuff to go talk about. I'm kind of hyped up for it. So Sony held on to its position as of right now. So a lot of this stuff is coming out from information from big stock meetings and earnings calls and, basically like companies being like, yeah, this year we made $7 trillion. Next we're going to make $18 trillion. So we had a lot of just, internals from all their information. So Sony actually did go and actually hold on to its position as gaming's second biggest money maker for the financial year ending on the 31st of March this past year. But it also looks set to fall a position once Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is actually finalized. So this actually might be the very first ever year in quite some time that the Xbox is actually going and being beating the PlayStation in terms of revenue. So with this one, PlayStation pulled in $18.2 billion, which is a huge amount of money in revenue, which is also not profit, revenue, for the previous fiscal term, which was actually, funny enough, eclipsed by Tencent's eye-watering, and this is I'll talk about this for a second, $32.2 billion. Which is insane, and then Apple actually, fun enough, round out for the top three with $15.3 billion. So, number one, some of these numbers we're seeing in terms of Tencent is huge. $32 billion. And I feel like not enough people, they usually kind of more focus on the consoles or whatever. It is insane on how much money they turn. And this also kind of big ties into with a lot of very popular games. Think League of Legends, one of the more popular games out there. Big money. And a lot of they also basically have a lot of big partials of large companies where, let's say for Epic Games, I believe they have a pretty big stake into it, and a few other various games too. They basically try their best to go and be part of most gaming areas and most gaming money. A lot of mobile market too as well, which, as you guys probably know, just prints money. Apple's a little bit more of an intriguing one because it's not necessarily purely more of a gaming-based company, but due to a lot of the gaming apps and app stores and stuff like that, and other various things too, it does kind of have a tie-in with it in terms of their revenue. But PlayStation turning $18.2 billion is a very healthy company. It's a very healthy market. But the one big thing is that, once again, we might actually see a little bit more extra competition. So in the research compiled by Newzoo and reported by VentureBeat, PlayStation actually saw a 2.3% dip year over year. And we cover this news when we're kind of going over more of the in-depth earnings calls. With that, this kind of goes to show that although they want to push a huge market push for making more consoles, they still have not done so. They actually have sold less PlayStation 5 consoles, which also means there's less people buying in the Sony ecosystem. That means there's less people buying brand new games. That means there's less people paying for PS Plus, PS Now, and all that type of stuff. And just less gift cards, maybe less people playing online. It's like kind of like a death spiral, pretty much. But I mean, obviously they're gonna make more, and that should be on the up and up. But this is mainly, obviously, like I said, due to the stock issues and more people, being inside, not being out inside as much, going outside summer for me over here. And then also many people were pushing towards gaming during the height of the pandemic, which obviously is a lot more engagement, more people playing stuff, watching Twitch streams, YouTubes, whatever, on the PS5 and PS4. With all this stuff kind of now being easing, number one, with the actual just not as good restocks not going to as well, and also number two, just more people chilling, living, and also number three, not a lot of big releases. We'll have a few more months until the next big one kind of comes out. Basically, just leaving a lot less time for gaming. Although, regardless, it looks like Sony's position in second place actually might be falling in the near future. Now, once again, at the end of the day, I just want everyone happy gaming-wise, and obviously sometimes it takes a lot of gusto to go and spend $70 billion to go and, compete, but if you got the money, with Microsoft money, might as well. So with this, as Microsoft's acquisition of Blizzard is likely to make its gaming department a bigger actual money spinner than PlayStation, unless, of course, it responds in kind. So for this, at least from all earnings calls, the Xbox division pulled in $12.9 billion in revenue for the previous fiscal year. So in comparison to Sony, it's only at, it's still down like 6 million, like 5.5, 6 million-ish or so in revenue for its past year. And then if you guys just look at Activision and Blizzard by itself, that company did go and turn $8.1 billion. So I think it's kind of just simple, easy math. You go add up 13 billion and 8 billion itself, you're pulling some pretty good numbers. You're pulling $21 billion, which even just off the current profit margins is about a $3 billion revenue increase over PlayStation. Now, once again, though, that's still great on both sides. Although, it always kind of depends, if Game Pass bumps up. But I kind of feel like right now, Game Pass is at a low point. So if you have, a lot more big releases, a brand new, proper, good game that people want to re-up for, think like the Netflix phenomena. When, a good show or, Stranger Things comes out, you get more subscribers. But as of right now, if you just put in those factors and numbers together, they actually are making more money. It would actually put Xbox as the number 2 biggest company in terms of the gaming scene, in comparison to, say, Tencent. So it's very intriguing just to note that, in theory, if all this acquisition goes through and we keep on seeing more Xbox games and the Game Pass subscription numbers still going up and up and up, and, well, obviously kind of depends too on how well God of War does, and if there's a really big, if they actually sell 18 million consoles, for the PlayStation 5, obviously those numbers will kind of bounce around and hopefully, ideally, go up as more restocks happen and more sales happen, more game sales happen, all of that. But at the end of the day, that would still be, well, maybe very, very close and or still losing to the place for the Xbox, for the PlayStation side sake. So it's just very intriguing information because, well, a lot of people have kind of solidified and thought that Sony's going to win this console generation. And if you kind of just want to pull it based on just purely on how much money you make, at the end of the day, they will maybe lose. And it's also kind of weird, too, and this is why the Xbox, acquisition for that is so big, because PlayStation's one of their biggest and best-selling games is always Call of Duty. Everyone always plays it. So that also means that every single PlayStation sale, even if, say, PlayStation makes an extra, let's say, $1 billion from Call of Duty, that means that also Microsoft's making, let's say, an extra $2 billion even on their competitor doing well. So that's why we still think that's such a huge, huge idea, because they're basically double-dipping into both markets either way. It's got the same idea for Bungie and Destiny, although it's just not as big of a game as Call of Duty is and doesn't print as much money as a pro, just obviously. So it's very intriguing to see that the Xbox actually might be beating the PlayStation in terms of sales and revenue and all that stuff. It's just by the actual numbers and by the books. And as well, just for anyone who wants to know, Nintendo, for the sake of interest, registered $8.1 billion. So it's still, pretty close to the Xbox either way, and they're not as money hungry. If they want to make a brand new Switch, probably make a lot more money, release up some, the Zelda, Mario games, probably make a lot more money. But it's also worth remembering that profit and revenue are not the same, and the House of Mario is extremely profitable, despite its revenue being lower. It's also interesting to see how the PlayStation business matures over the coming generation as it looks to new growth vectors like the rebooted PlayStation Plus. So yeah, there's a lot of little side things too, and a lot of Game Pass and PS Plus comparisons and new releases and all that. But at the end of the day, it does actually kind of look like the Xbox actually might be overstepping and beating the PlayStation 5, and especially if you guys just factor in these numbers, which this deal is still technically going through. So I mean, at this point, it actually does kind of mean the Xbox is technically beating it if you guys look at pure revenue. So kind of want to hear hear your thoughts and comments down below as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console controller, Twitter and Twitch stream down below, the Webull and Coinbase down below, and Twitter giveaway down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later on throughout today for more videos.